Good morning, Virgo, through their eyes. That is where I want to begin today. Not with the usual opening, not with the framing or the context or the careful establishment of what this reading is about. With the view, the specific, particular, entirely subjective view that a certain person has of you, the version of you that exists in their perception, which is so different from the version you carry of yourself that if you could see it for even a moment, it would stop you completely. Uh, because what they see when they look at you is not what you see when you look in the mirror. Not the ordinary, familiar, I know every flaw of this face view that proximity to oneself always produces. Something else entirely, something that has been building in them since the moment you first entered their awareness, accumulating detail by detail, interaction by interaction, into a picture of you that is so complete and so specifically admiring that the word admiring barely begins to cover it. Take what is yours today. What resonates, let it reach the places that compliments usually slide off before landing. What does not, release it without guilt. But for those of you who felt something warm and slightly disorienting move through you when I said through their eyes, who felt the specific quality of someone who is not accustomed to being looked at with the kind of admiration I am about to describe, this reading is entirely for you. Let me speak about this person first, because they deserve to be spoken about with the specificity their feelings warrant, and because understanding who they are and what they carry changes the entire quality of how what they want to show you lands when it arrives. Soft sigh. This is not someone whose admiration is easily given. That is the first thing Spirit is pressing forward, and it matters enormously for how you receive everything that follows. The person whose eyes see you the way I am about to describe has not arrived at their view of you through the casual, available to anyone process of finding someone pleasant. They arrived at it through attention. Real, sustained, nothing missed attention, the kind that only someone with both the capacity for depth and the specific motivation to look closely actually brings to another person. And what that attention found, what the close, sustained, motivated looking produced, is a picture of you that has the specific quality of something seen accurately, not idealized, seen. The difference matters. Idealization produces a picture that cannot survive contact with reality, that requires the real person to remain at a distance to maintain its integrity. What this person carries is different. It has survived contact with reality, has deepened through it, has been produced by the specific, unglamorous, fully dimensional experience of encountering you as you actually are, not as you are on your best day, not filtered through the favorable conditions of an early impression, but as the full, complicated, entirely human, and entirely extraordinary person you are in the ordinary course of your actual life. And what the full picture produced in them, what the accurate, nothing left out, fully dimensional seeing of you has created in the interior of this person is something they are now finding impossible to contain, impossible to simply carry quietly as a private appreciation that does not seek expression. Something that has been growing in them to the point where the containing of it costs more than the expressing of it would. And what they want, what Spirit is bringing through today with the specific warmth of something that is genuinely, completely, without a catch good, is to show you, not tell you though, the telling will come. Show you in the real concrete, this is what my feeling looks like when it becomes action way that certain people express love through the specific quality of their attention, their generosity, their willingness to invest in the experience of the person they care about in ways that go considerably beyond the ordinary gestures of ordinary affection. Oof. Now, hear what they carry because Spirit is pressing this voice forward and it needs to reach you in the form closest to how it actually lives in them. You have no idea. That is the honest beginning of what I want to say to you, and I mean it in the most specific sense available. You have no idea what it is like to encounter someone like you, because you are inside your own experience of yourself, which is the most ordinary, most familiar, most thoroughly unimpressed by your own qualities experience available. And I am outside it. Seeing what the inside view never lets you see. The full, external, nothing taken for granted picture of what you are. And what you are from here, from this angle, in the full and accurate view that knowing you has produced, is remarkable. Not in the vague, could be said about anyone way of well meaning compliments, in the specific, located, only true of you way of someone who has paid close enough attention to know the difference between the generally admirable and the particularly extraordinary. You are the second kind. Your particular combination of how you think and how you move and how you treat people and what you notice and what you care about and the specific quality of your presence in a room or a conversation or a quiet moment, that combination is not one I have found reproduced anywhere else in anyone ever. And I have been sitting with the full weight of that, of having encountered something genuinely irreplaceable and having the specific privilege of being close enough to see it clearly, and what I feel sitting with it is not the comfortable, pleasant warmth of appreciation. It is something considerably more urgent than that. The specific urgency of someone who understands that what they are in the presence of deserves to be honored, not admired from a distance, not appreciated privately, not held as a quiet and unexpressed acknowledgement of something valuable, but honored. In the full expressed, this is what I want you to know and feel way of someone who refuses to let the extraordinary pass without marking it. I want to show you what I see, what you are in my eyes, not because you need my seeing to be what you are. You are what you are, regardless of whether I see it. But because I believe, I genuinely, completely believe that being shown the view from here, from outside yourself, from the angle that your own familiarity with yourself will never grant you access to would change something, would give you access to a truth about yourself that the interior view has been obscuring. Soft sigh. Oh, let that settle, because that is not the language of casual admiration. That is the language of someone who has been genuinely transformed by the experience of knowing you, who has encountered something in you that produced not just feeling, but a specific and sustained orientation toward honoring what they found. And that orientation toward honoring rather than simply feeling is the distinction that makes what they carry different from ordinary attraction in the most meaningful possible way. Now, I want to speak about what showing you looks like, because Spirit is bringing it through with a specificity that I think matters for how you receive it when it arrives. Showing you does not mean a single grand gesture, though grand gestures may be part of it. It means the sustained, daily, this is how I treat someone I see clearly quality of someone whose behavior toward you will be, is already becoming, in the ways it has begun to express itself, proportionate to their view of your worth. Proportionate to your worth. That phrase deserves its own moment. Because for many of you in this collective, and Spirit is pressing this specifically, the experience of being treated proportionately to your actual worth has not been the consistent experience of your recent life. You have been giving at a level that was not being returned at the same level, showing up with a quality of care and attention and genuine investment that was being received as ordinary when it was extraordinary. Living in the gap between what you bring and what the world has been giving back, and managing that gap with the specific, quietly exhausting grace of someone who has decided not to make it someone else's problem. This person wants to close that gap, not as charity as accurate response. As the natural, inevitable behavior of someone who sees clearly enough to understand what your presence is worth, and who is constitutionally incapable of relating to extraordinary things in ordinary ways. What they want to show you is simply what you actually deserve, which may feel, if you have been living in the gap for a while, like considerably more than you are accustomed to receiving. Ooh, let it be more. That is the specific instruction Spirit is pressing for you today. Not the managed, I am comfortable with receiving up to a certain point reception that self protection tends to produce in someone who has not always been treated proportionately. The full reception, the one that lets what is being offered actually land, actually change the daily texture of your experience of being valued without deflecting it into something smaller and therefore more familiar. Because what is coming, what this person cannot wait to show you, is not something to be deflected. It is the specific and real and entirely deserved experience of being seen accurately and treated accordingly, of having your worth reflected back by someone who has no interest in the comfortable underestimation and every interest in the full, accurate, this is what I actually see truth of who you are to them. You are perfect in their eyes. And I want to be clear about what perfect means in this context, because perfect is a word that gets misused in ways that make it sound like the speaker has not looked closely enough. Perfect in their eyes does not mean flawless, does not mean the airbrushed, idealized, stripped of complexity version that infatuation produces in its early stages and that reality eventually corrects. Perfect in their eyes means complete, whole, the full dimensional, nothing missing version of you, including the parts that are difficult, including the complexity, including the specific and sometimes inconvenient realness of being the particular person you are and finding in all of it not something to be managed or improved upon, but something to be honored exactly as it is. That is the view from their eyes. And they cannot wait to show you what that view produces in them in the specific, concrete, real world form of someone who treats what they see as the precious and irreplaceable thing it actually is. Soft sigh. Be ready to receive it. Not with suspicion, though discernment is always appropriate and always yours to apply. With the grounded, self possessed, I know my own worth openness of someone who has finally encountered a reflection that is accurate, who has finally found someone whose view of them matches the truth of them, and who is willing, perhaps for the first time in a while, to let that accurate reflection reach all the way in. Something beautiful is coming toward you from someone who sees you clearly and loves what they see completely, who cannot wait. And that phrase, spirit is pressing it forward with warmth, who genuinely cannot wait to show you. Let them, in the full, open, arms uncrossed way of someone who has finally completely given themselves permission to be loved the way they have always deserved to be loved, not partially, not at the managed, comfortable level that keeps things from getting too real. Completely as the view from their eyes sees you, which is to say, entirely, without reservation, without a single element of who you are held outside the circle of what they find extraordinary. You are seen fully by someone who cannot wait to show you what that seeing has produced in them. Let it reach you today. If this reading found you at exactly the right moment, if something here gave language to what it feels like to finally be seen accurately and loved completely, stay close. Subscribe and come back. Because the story of what happens when someone who sees you fully finally gets to show you, that is a story worth witnessing all the way through to its most luminous chapter. And the next reading will be there for every beautiful moment of the showing.